Hi guys, so in today's video I'm going to be talking about some of the books that I really enjoyed reading this past year, and that was my cat that jumped on the couch. That was why the image was shaky. But yeah, so I'm going to be discussing 3 books, 1 comic book and 1 manga, because I'm really into mangas lately, and then a reading slump also. So the first book that I loved and I wasn't expecting it was The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I'm sure all of you probably have heard of it because it's super popular, especially in the dark academia type of world, I guess. She made it super popular. So the book follows this student Richard, and when he goes to university, one day, on campus, he meets these 5 students and they look off, but in a good way. And he's very intrigued because they are the popular kids and no one is allowed to speak with them. And they take this very special Greek mythology, Greek centered course, which is consisting of only the 5 of them. And this moment when he sees them first starts this huge avalanche of happenings, and I so enjoyed this book. What I enjoyed most about this book was the fact that you actually feel like you get to live in this microcosm that is created by these 5 students. And what I found very weird and intriguing was the fact that I felt just like the main character. I felt a need to be validated and liked by those 5 students. That's how high up he puts them and he has them in his mind. And it was so it's a bit of a spoiler what I'm going to say next, but it's so interesting to see his perspective at the beginning of the book and how he just worships them, and his perspective, how it changes throughout the book and how their relationships change, and everything is just, I love books that are very character driven and character centric, and this is exactly it. You don't get to travel or go on big adventures. It's just this little group of people in this particular time and how they dealt with what happened. It's a murder mystery type of organza in here. I don't speak English, okay? Murdered mystery type of extravaganza in here. And I just really enjoyed the book, and I've heard from other people that this, if you like the dark academia atmosphere, she does it best. Donna Tartt in His Secret History does it really well. I don't know if her other book is still dark academia. I really haven't read it, but this one is worth a try. I gave it 4.5 stars, but I've thought about it so often that I think I might change it to a 5-star because it's me and I give all the books that I read 5 stars. So that's, yep, okay. So, you should read it. The next book that I'm going to be talking about is Fever Dream by George R.R. Martin. It's the only book of his that I've read, so I cannot say anything of his other works, but I really enjoyed this in a sense. When I first read it, I wasn't incredibly thrilled with it because it's, in my perspective, it's a very atmospheric, very not character-based kind of book, and I really enjoyed characters and to see them in all sorts of situations, and I'm not that interested in plot or atmosphere, I guess. It's very weird because those things are very important in a book, but I'd rather have characters than really good atmosphere. But ever since I read it 3 or 4 months ago, I cannot stop thinking about it. It feels literally like a fever dream. Sometimes I think about certain scenes in this book and I'm was this in a book or did I just have a weird ass dream about it? And it's not like psychedelic or anything, but it's just, it has that magical sort of feel to it. I won't say anything about this book because I think I can spoil it very easily, but it's a very wild ride, and all that I can say, it involves steamboats and they travel on like rivers, so the context of it is really pretty. And I also really enjoyed the ending. It was very thrilling. It was very George R. R. Martin Game of Thrones-esque in a way, so it's not a boring book. And also, if you really are the type to like prefer atmospheric books, this is the one to go with, because he does, obviously it's George R. R. Martin, so he does a really great job. So give it a go. And also, I think I gave it like 4 stars. Yeah, I think it was like 4 stars or something. The last book that I'm going to be talking about is Midnight Library by Matt Haig. And I think he has a very unique perspective and a very unique way of intertwining mental issues into his story. So it reads like a self-help book, but narrated with characters, with a self-help book that I would actually enjoy reading, and I wasn't expecting that. Midnight Library follows this woman, I forgot her name because I always forget characters' names, and she's in a really, really bad time in her life, and something happens and she stumbles into this midnight library where she gets to actually view, in the form of books, all the possibilities of her life if she chose to do something or she made a different decision. And you get to witness with her how different her life could have been if she would have decided something, like even the smallest thing she would have done differently. And I think it's very interesting because, at least in my opinion, everybody has those doubts and those like what ifs about their lives, and the ending just is just the most beautiful and optimistic ending. And I just love that he understands how people's minds work, because it felt very real and very raw at times, because it was funny, it had its moments of like romance or whatnot, but at the end of the day it was just such a raw book and heartbreaking. And I just loved the main character because of that, because I saw how flawed she was and how, like, you could say that she made mistakes, but how like she fought through at the end of the day. And I just love it. It's such a cute book. Also, it's like, I think 200 pages long, so it's an easy read. You won't get like heartbroken over it for like a long period of time. And it just stuck with me, like, ever since I've read it. And while I was reading it, I was like, yep, this is one book that I'll never forget because of that. And I don't know, it's just a very, very interesting concept to write about, and he did it very, very well. It's not bad. Not at all. So just give it a go. Those were the last novels that I'm going to be talking about. Next is a comic book that I fell in love with. So the comic book that I'm going to be talking about is Paper Girls by Brian K. Vaughan. He, coincidentally, is also the writer of Saga, which is my favorite comic book of all time. So you can guess how many stars I gave Paper Girls already. It was obviously a 5-star comic book. It was very interesting. It was a very wild ride. At times, I knew what was going on, and I was like very certain that I knew what was going to happen. But then the next issue would start, and I'll be just as confused. The thing that I enjoyed most in Paper Girls was their friendship and each character individually, because they're very, very unique, and I just enjoyed having them put in those outrageously absurd situations and seeing how each of them reacts to it and how each of them comes with solutions and just like save the day. It was very, very fun, but also I've never read something like that. It was incredibly unique and very, very strange. Like, I never knew what was going to happen up until the end, which was amazing as well. And I don't know if it's just that I really like Brian K. Vaughan and his way of writing stuff, because I really enjoy Saga as well. But it's very strange. Like, I'm not denying the fact that it's very strange, but it's really worth a go. And it's just beautiful. Like, the art in it, like the hours put into it, I'm sure it was a lot, and it's just so pretty. Like, just looking at it, you're very happy. Okay, so the last thing that I'm going to be trying to discuss, because I'm having a brain fart right now, is the manga that I'm currently reading. I haven't finished it yet. I think I'm on volume 7, and it's Tokyo Ghoul. At first, I didn't like it. Like, the first issue that I read was okay. I was intrigued by what was going to happen, but I DNF'd it. But now I'm in a reading slump, and the only thing that I want to read are comic books or mangas, and I decided to pick it up again, and it was the best decision that I could have made, because it's so damn good. Like, now I understand the craze around Tokyo Ghoul. It's so worth it. So, the story follows this guy, Kaneki, and he goes on a date with a girl, and on this date, he finds out that this girl is actually a ghoul that tries to, like, murder him so she can eat his body, which is insane. And, like, something happens, and they both get very injured, and they get to the hospital, and the doctors replace her organs. Like, they give her organs to him, and now we have to follow Kaneki, who's half human, half ghoul, throughout Tokyo, and how he, like, deals with the fact that he's a freaking ghoul now, and he wants to, like, eat people, which is weird as fuck. Kill me.
I want to be a ghoul as well.
So he turns half human and half ghoul. And now he has to navigate that. He has to live as a half human, half ghoul in Tokyo. And that's not even the worst part of it somehow, even though he, like, wants to eat human meat, which is strange. The worst part of it is that in Tokyo there are, like, areas and sectors and wards. I think they're called wards. And if you, like, go step over one of the wards and you go from, like, the 20th ward to the 11th ward, the ghouls there will try to literally eat you and commit cannibalism, because they think that you have to hunt in your own ward, which Kaneki obviously doesn't have and doesn't know anything about all those, like, ghoul related rules. And it's very interesting, especially since he's, like, a very shy person. The fact that he's put in this insane bonkers situation, it's so freaking funny. And also, I just love it that this is my first, like, manga series that I'm ever reading, because I've read, like, Junji Ito's work, but I feel like it's way more interesting and makes me more, like, understand how mangas work and how, like, to read them and everything, and have, like, understand mangas in general. And it's a very fun read, and I think you should, like, if you've never read the manga, this is the one to go with, because it's very intriguing. And just, like, if you've read the first volume of it and you're, like, lukewarm about it, just give it a go. Like, read the second one and you'll just instantly become obsessed, because I am right now. Like, I think I read a volume a day, so I'm gonna get it finished in a snippy. But it's very, very fun. You get attached to the characters and how they, like, interact with each other, and, like, the tension builds, because he's a freaking half human, half ghoul. So it's cool. It's very, very cool. I gave, like, all of the volumes 5 stars, even the first one, because now I get it. It had to, like, move a bit slower at first. It, like, had to warm up before it shocked you and made you like want to read. So I was a bit lazy in that regard because I didn't continue it. But yeah, it's a very, very thrilling manga that you should definitely give a go. So these were not all, these were some of the books and mangas, comics that I really enjoyed reading in 2021, in the first half of it. And if you haven't read them, please give it a go. If you have, let me know what your opinions are on them. And see you next time. Bye!